Now let's open computerproperty2.html. And here we have a table contains top 10 frameworks. Each row contains name and score. But here the framework is not sorted. What we should do here is sorted the frameworks by score, whether ascendingly or descendingly. So let's switch to our editor and see the code. Open the computerproperty2.html. Here, inside tbody, we load the framework from top 10 frameworks. Let's see the script. And here we have top 10 frameworks property, which contains array of objects. And our job now is to sort these frameworks by score before to actually display them in the template. In this case, we need to make computation to the top 10 frameworks, and we can put the logic inside the computed property. So let's add computed. Then inside this, let's define a function. Here I'm gonna call it top 10 frameworks sorted. And then inside this function, we can sort the top 10 frameworks array by utilizing JavaScript sort function. So this dot top 10 frameworks dot sort. This function needs another function as argument. In this case, I'm gonna use ES6 arrow function. In this function, we'll need to compare two values. Let's say A and B. The first one represents the current iteration, and the second one represents the next iteration. All array elements, except undefined, are sorted according to the return value of this compare function. If A compare B is less than 0, A will come first. If A compare B is equal 0, both A and B unchanged, then if A compare B is greater than 0, B will come first. So here we can simply subtract the A score with the B score. So for example, here we compare Spring with score 88 with ASP.NET with score 100. Here, 88 subtract 100, the result will be -12. That's why Spring comes first. Then, let's compare ASP.NET with Ruby on Rails, which has score 95. Here, 100 subtract 95, the result will be +5. That's why the right side, in this case Rails, will come first. I hope it will make sense to you. Alright, don't forget to add return to return the sorted array. Now we can go to our template and change these top 10 frameworks with our computed property. Top 10 frameworks sorted. Let's save and have a look. As you can see, now the top 10 frameworks sorted from the lower to the higher score. Now, what if the frameworks need to be sorted ascendingly? Well, it's very easy. Let's switch over to our editor. And if you still remember, in this compare function, negative value will make the left side come first, while positive value will make the right side come first. So to make this opposite, here we simply multiply this value with -1 like so. So for example, -2 multiplied by -1 will result +2, and 5 multiplied by -1 will result -5. So let's save and have a look. As you can see, now the frameworks sorted from the higher score to the lower score. Now you might be thinking, maybe it would be better if the order could be exchanged ascendingly or descendingly. Once we hit this double heading, it would be ascending, and when hit again, it would be descending, and so on. Well, that's very challenging, but let's do that. Let's switch back to our editor, and here we need to make this part dynamic. So let's replace this with this.order. Now we can jump to data property, then define the order with value 1 by default. That means the order will be ascending initially. Now we can jump to our template, and here in this table heading, let's bind a click event to toggle the order. On click equals, inside here we can simply change the order from -1 to +1 or vice versa. Here we can say order equals order multiply by -1. Or we can make it more simpler, just like this. Or, to make our template clean, let's move this logic into method. Let's cut, and then let's call toggle. Back to script. And here, let's define methods property. Then define toggle method. Inside this, let's add return and paste the code. Since we are in Vue option, don't forget to add this. Let's save, and let's go back to our browser. Now here the data sorted in ascending initially. If we hit the score, it's now sorted descendingly. Hit again, it now sorted ascendingly. Great! Now, before we end this lesson, let's style this table heading. For example, when we hover over it, the cursor turns to pointer. It will indicate that this part is clickable. Also, we need to add an icon or indicator to indicate which sorting type that currently using. So let's switch back over to our editor, then go to template. Here in the score table heading, let's do class binding. Here we'll need two different classes. That's why here we're going to pass an array. The first one is a class that will change the cursor. Let's say short control, or whatever name you like. Then the second will be class that indicate which sorting type that currently using. Here I'm gonna call a computer property. Let's say short type. So let's jump to computer property. And here let's define short type. In here, we'll return two different classes based on the order value. If order's value is equals 1, let's return a scanning class. Otherwise, let's return the scanning. Now let's define these classes in CSS. Let's jump to head tag. Then, let's add style tag. Firstly, let's define the short control. Here we simply change the cursor to pointer. Then, let's define the ascending class. Here we'll utilize pseudo element after. It is often used to add cosmetic content to an element with a content property. So here, let's set the content with to 5b2, which will result triangle icon. Let's copy this rule, paste, and change the class to the scanning. Then let's change the content to 5bc, which will result reverse triangle icon. Alright, let's save and let's have a look. We have unexpected icon. So let me open my browser console. Let me switch the order type. Here the class was not changing. Let me see my code. Sorry, this should be order. Save. Okay. As you can see, now we have expected triangle icon and the data sorted ascendingly. If we hover over it, the cursor turns to pointer. Now if we hit that, the icon turns to reverse triangle and the data sorted ascendingly. Hit again. Now it's sorted ascendingly. Great! Okay, that's it. I'll see you in the next lesson.